Hello, hello, and welcome to my Sunday thought. And this time I'm doing it a day early because I have two shows tomorrow, and I'm afraid that I won't get to it till the middle of the next week. So this is my Sunday thought on the Saturday before. I'm reminding you again that I have a book. It's called Getting the Last Laugh, and we're going to be doing an interview program on March 29th in London. So people that are in Britain can tune in, and I'll have it on my Facebook page all over the place, um, where I'm going to be talking about the book and reading bits from it. But the main thing that it's about is how to make your dreams come true. And I have done that. And I have done that without great effort. I mean, it's nothing like this book isn't a how to book, it's just a book that tells you um, what happened in my life and how I kept going. And Winston Churchill, I believe, is the one that said, when you're in hell, just keep going. And I was in hell for many, many years, and I kept going. And here I am. This time I'm going to talk about college days because I'm very upset and very sad that the pandemic has kept our young people from having the experience of college, university life, sitting at a computer, and even doing a discussion on a Zoom link is not the same as being in college and having that crazy, wild time of learning for the first time to take responsibility for yourself. All of a sudden, mom isn't doing the laundry. You got to eat 3 meals and figure out when to do it. Um, you've got to take care of your money situation and not run out, as I did the first week of every month. And you have fun. And you have the kind of fun that as we get older isn't fun anymore, but then it was wonderful. And of course, I went to university in the 50s, 1951 to 55, and that was a time that women were very restricted. We had very specific roles. Our goal was to catch a man because otherwise we either would starve or we'd end up being a librarian or a secretary or a prostitute, all of which are the same things. Um, but we still had wild, nonsensical fun. And the thing that made me think about this is the Boston Tickler. There is a man called the Boston Tickler who runs around college dormitories. And my husband went to Harvard Business School, and there are just loads of universities and colleges in the Boston area. And what he did is he went around to dormitories and he would tickle the people's feet. And tickling, I wonder whether people still do that now. I was very, very ticklish. It was very easy to make me laugh because I was very, very ticklish. Uh, and I remember uh, whether this has, that I used to teach at the Jewish Community Center after school program. And we used to always say, "Are you for real?" And I remember this little boy, his name was Bobby, and I said to him, "Are you for real?" And he said, "No, I'm for fun." And I think that I was for fun when I was in college, although I was very serious about my studies. And we did some absolutely wonderful, outrageous things. And among the things that I love to talk about is we did skits. There was an ad for Maidenform bras that said, "I dreamt I was a pirate in my Maidenform bra. I dreamt I was a singer in my Maidenform bra." And I forget what I did for it, but I did a whole thing, and this is very outrageous in the 50s, about my Maidenform bra. I think I said, I looked in my treasured chest or something like that. But we did that kind of crazy thing. And one of the things that in the 50s we saved S&H green stamps. I don't know if they had them in Britain, but in America, anyone that's watching in America really remembers that we always saved trading stamps. And we would save them for um, household decor, or pretty things to put on the wall. and for useful items. And I was in a sorority, and I was the house manager. The house manager was supposed to fix things. And as I said, I was mostly for fun, so I was very wild and very crazy. And one of the things I was supposed to do is I was supposed to make sure that all the toilets worked. And I remember the previous house manager said to me, "Oh, that's easy." I said, "No, I've never used a plunger. I don't know what to do." I mean, I can't. What'll I do if one of the girls plugs up the toilet, which was happening in a sorority, happened every day? And she said, "Oh, it's easy. This is what you do." And she made a sign that said "out of order" and pasted it on the door of the toilet. So that's what I did when I took care of the um, plumbing in the sorority house. But we had, as I said, S&H green stamps, and we had a very clever and very domineering house mother. You always had a house mother, and the house mother's name was Aunt Hattie, and she was from the South, and which was very proper. I remember, if anybody's listening that was in the sorority with me, we all remember she always dressed in a very conservative suit and skirt, um, because she was a Southern woman and she was proper. And she had us every time we went to a store, and every time she ordered from a supermarket, she saved the stamps. And my job was to lick those stamps and put them in these books. And we had so many books because the sorority, we're good eaters, and you use a lot of products. And she said to me, "All right, now I've saved 50 of these books, and that means that you can get 3 cases of toilet paper." And I was, of course, in charge of the toilets. So she said, "Would you go to the supermarket, and would you please uh, cash in these books and get the toilet paper? 3 cases of toilet paper." But that time, because I was an overprivileged little Jewish co-ed, I had my own car. I had a convertible, and 3 cases of toilet paper. That's in those days was absolutely huge, because there were like 50 rolls in one of those cases, and in order to get them into the convertible, I had to put the top down. I got them all in the convertible, and I went, I think, with a couple other friends who were also little devils, as I was, and in order to get all the toilet paper, I think, as I recall, they didn't. There was cases of them, but they didn't put them in cardboard. They took them out and they gave it to us in a great big bag, and we had. So it would have been 150 cases of toilet paper, toilet rolls, sitting in the convertible. And Ann Arbor, which is where I went, it was the University of Michigan. It's very windy and the weather is absolutely disgusting. And as we drove with the top down, uh, toilet paper went flying out of the car, and of course the rolls rolled, and I mean we covered Ann Arbor with toilet paper. And when we got back to the sorority house, the house mother never forgave me because of course we lost approximately 50 rolls of toilet paper, but we had so much fun, so much fun. And another fun story is in those days you could not drink uh, even beer until you were 21 in Michigan. And we often went to Windsor, Canada, because they had a lower drinking age. It was 18. And we would go there to have a cocktail. I was not much of a drinker because I didn't hold it well. But for your 21st birthday, you went to a place called the Pretzel Bell, and you could drink as much beer as you possibly could. I hate beer, but after all, I wanted to be one of the crowd. So we went to the Pretzel Bell on my 21st birthday, and they gave us this huge pitchers of beer. I mean, I think there were 20 glasses in a pitcher. And I drank 2 of them, all by myself. I drank 2 of them. And I went home, and I was not used to alcohol. And I was a wild little girl. I was crazy. And what we used to do in those days, because we used to roll our hair in socks, in bobby socks, to make them curl, because we used to wear page boys, and I had long hair, and so I would roll it up in socks and put a little nightcap on with a little bow, And that night, I rolled my hair up in socks. I don't know how I did it. I was so drunk. And I threw up all night. And unfortunately, the next morning, I had kiddie music with a wonderful, wonderful teacher. His name was Mr. Toth, who used to say, if you like music, you like all music. But this particular, it was 8 o'clock in the morning. I had to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was so hungover. Um, and I went to the class, and we were studying musical games like Round and Round the Mulberry Bush. And all I remember is the one we had to do was Bow, Bow, Belinda. And every time I bowed, I threw up again. But it was worth it because I celebrated my 21st birthday in the most exciting way that I possibly could. The other thing about Michigan, and one of the things that I miss in Britain, is the beautiful fall that the Midwest has, the season. You don't call it fall, you call it autumn, where the trees are many, many colors, but it's absolutely beautiful. And all the farmers put out, they have stands where they sell apple cider and they sell fresh vegetables in the fall because that's the harvest time. And our house mother was very innovative, and because after all, she saved the S&H green stamps to get toilet paper, and she instead of buying cider, we would have parties at the sorority house where we have donuts and cider, and she would, instead of buying cider at the grocery store, she thought we could get a better buy if we got it straight from the farm and the farmers. However, the difference is that it was not homogenized, the cider, and so it became very alcoholic very fast, very strong, very fast. But she didn't know that, and of course neither did I. And I had that convertible, so I went and I got about 10 jugs of apple cider, and we used it for our parties. But then for Thanksgiving, Aunt Hattie went back south to see her family, and she took one of these jugs of cider with her. And because she was very economical and very frugal, she went. She must have lived in something like Alabama, and she took the Greyhound bus, and she took this jug of apple cider with her. And evidently, as she drove on the Greyhound bus, the whole thing exploded all over the. Of course, that was the joke of the sorority house um, for the rest of the season. But the thing that I talk about the crazy pranks that we did, and we did many, many pranks. And the classic one was that since I was in a sorority, we had what we called pledges, which were what you call you call them freshers, but the beginning, the first year, and they every year they would kidnap somebody in the senior class, and because I was the nuttiest one, they decided to kidnap me. And at that time, I was dating a young man who looked exactly like Howdy Doody, which was a famous television show, a little puppet that was a redhead with lots of freckles. And his name was Bobby Golton, and he has since left us, which is a great loss to the world. But I was dating him, and we used to call him Howdy Doody because he was about 5'5". I was at that time 5'2", which is very tall compared to what I am now. I am now 4'10". But we used to call him Howdy Doody, and so the pledges, the freshman girls, came into my room at midnight one night. Of course, I had the little nightcap on, but this time I wasn't drunk, and they bundled me up. Now, Ann Arbor winters are beyond any winter you can possibly imagine. They make the Antarctic look like the Riviera. That's how bad the winters are. And so they bundled me up in stadium boots and stadium coat and many, many scarves and many hats. And they took me in a cab and they took me to the fraternity house, which is a ZBT house. And they tied me to a tree in my pajamas and my stadium coat, and they sang, "It's howdy doody time, it's howdy doody time." And this was at 3 in the morning. But because everybody knew what a wild hellion I was, one of the men, whose name was Stanley Lakin, knew immediately who it was as soon as he heard it said howdy doody time. And he leaned out the window and he yelled, "Lynn Ruth, are you down there?" And I said, "Yes, I'm tied to a tree." And he came down and untied me. and we had some hot chocolate, and we laughed and told jokes. And then I walked home. It was about 3 miles, very, very cold. Um, but that was the kind of thing we did. I think now that this is what the children are missing. Now, all of you who are listening, I'm sure you think that this is absolutely ridiculous because you're older. But when you're a college student, this is just such a release from the study that you're doing. I'm going to give you one more story, and then I will end it. And that was the University of Michigan. I was there for the big panty raid. We didn't have a Victoria's Secret. We didn't have girls' underwear was not advertised in booklets. All we had was the Sears Roebuck catalog, and I assure you that underwear was something that your grandmother would wear, but no self-respecting young girl would wear. We wore cotton underwear called lollipops. That's what we wore. But some of the girls were braver and wore a lot of lace and a lot of silk and satin. Uh, and spring, because of Ann Arbor's weather, spring is a blessing. Spring is a blessing, and the best thing that can happen, because I mean it's finally, the snow is finally going to melt, and this particular spring, and I was a freshman, so this would have been 1951. Um, this young man, for some reason, welcomed spring by playing a bugle and playing taps on the bugle and playing, and it set off all the boys in their dormitories, and they came out and raided the girls' dormitories and of the underwear. They went surging into our dormitories. At that time, I was very serious about my studies, despite the fact that I was a nut, and I was in the shower. I was downstairs in the shower, and I heard a lot of racket, but I didn't know what it was. And I finished my shower, and I washed my hair, and I got all set, and I was all alone in the shower, which was unusual because because this was in the dormitory. There were lots and lots of women there, but I was all alone. And then instead of taking the elevator upstairs, I decided to walk. I lived on the 5th floor, so I walked up to the 5th floor. And by the time I got there, I mean the room was in havoc. Every drawer, bureau drawer was open, and our underwear was strung on every tree. And in those days, you had telephone poles, and every telephone pole throughout Ann Arbor, and it made the national news. But it was the Great Panty Raid of 1951, and I was there. Uh, this is something that our children do not have right now, and I find this a crime. And I cannot wait until the pandemic, because the cost of this pandemic, emotionally and psychologically, is far larger than I think any of us realize. And these are the pranks that we did at the University of Michigan, and I'm sure that they do them at Oxford and at Cambridge and in Edinburgh and in Newcastle and in Bristol, and now those campuses, and Kent, and those campuses are quiet. So I am giving you a little taste of what crazy college life can be, and hope that it returns very soon. And again, I'm going to remind you, if you want to read about some of the crazy escapades I did, you can read about it in Getting the Last Laugh. It's on Amazon. Thank you so much for joining me, and this is your Sunday Talk on Saturday.